In 2008, Zimbabwe printed a $100 trillion banknote. $100 trillion on a single piece of paper. And it was not enough to buy a loaf of bread. That same year, soldiers with rifles seized the largest diamond field ever discovered on African soil, killed over 200 people to take it, and the diamonds disappeared, not into the national treasury, not into hospitals or schools, into accounts that have never been fully traced. This is Zimbabwe, and the people who did this are still in power today. Zimbabwe was not always this. Before colonization, the Shona and Ndebele peoples had built sophisticated civilizations on some of the most fertile and mineral-rich land in southern Africa. Gold, diamonds, platinum, chrome, tobacco land so productive it fed the entire region. When Cecil Rhodes's British South Africa Company arrived in 1890, they did what colonial powers always did. They called the land empty. They divided it on paper. The best agricultural land, the fertile Highveld, was allocated to white settlers. Black Zimbabweans were pushed onto native reserves. Poor soil, dry land, far from the productive farms that would generate the colony's wealth. By the time Zimbabwe gained independence in 1980, a population of 6 million black Zimbabweans lived on 42% of the land. 200,000 white Rhodesians owned the other 58%, the most fertile 58%. That injustice was the lit fuse underneath everything that followed. Robert Mugabe came to power in 1980 with genuine popular support. He had led the Liberation War. He had spent 11 years in Rhodesian prisons. He understood what colonialism had done to his people. In the early years, his government built schools, expanded healthcare, and pursued reconciliation with the white minority. For a brief period, Zimbabwe was called the breadbasket of Africa. But behind the progress, something darker was operating. In 1983, Mugabe deployed the North Korean-trained 5th Brigade into Matabeleland. What followed has a name that most Western history books still refuse to say clearly. Gukurahundi. An estimated 20,000 Ndebele civilians were killed. Not combatants. Civilians. Men, women, and children killed in their villages by a unit that reported directly to Mugabe. The world stayed largely silent. Western governments stayed silent. Because Zimbabwe's economy was still functioning and the minerals were still accessible. The bodies did not matter as much as the business. By the late 1990s, the economy was deteriorating. The IMF had imposed structural adjustment conditions in 1991 that cut social spending, devalued the currency, and opened Zimbabwe to foreign competition that local industry could not survive. The same playbook used in Nigeria, Jamaica, Ghana, Trinidad. Cut spending on the poor. Service the debt, open to foreign capital. By 1997, Zimbabwe's war veterans, men who had fought for independence and had never received the pensions Mugabe promised, took to the streets. Mugabe panicked. He announced unbudgeted payouts to over 50,000 veterans. The Zimbabwe dollar collapsed on a single day, November 14, 1997, Black Friday. The currency lost 72% of its value in one afternoon, not over years. One afternoon. To distract from the economic crisis, Mugabe turned to the land question that had never been resolved. In 2000, war veterans and ZANU-PF supporters began invading white-owned commercial farms. Mugabe did not stop it. He endorsed it, called it the Third Kimurenga, the final liberation of Zimbabwean land. The principle was correct. The land had been stolen. It needed to come back. But the execution was catastrophic. Farms were seized without compensation and handed to political allies, many of whom had no farming experience and no equipment to maintain production. Agricultural output collapsed. Zimbabwe went from exporting food to importing it within 3 years. The breadbasket of Africa became dependent on food aid. And then came the printing press. To fund a government that had destroyed its own tax base, Mugabe authorized the Reserve Bank to print money. Month after month, year after year. Inflation went from 2% in 1990 to 56% in 1999 to 1,000% in 2006. And then to numbers that broke mathematics. In November 2008, Zimbabwe's inflation reached an official estimate of 89.7 sextillion percent. 89.7 sextillion. A number so large that economists had to invent new ways to describe it. People needed wheelbarrows of cash to buy groceries. Shop prices changed while customers were still standing in the queue to pay. Pensions evaporated. Savings became worthless. A lifetime of work reduced to a number on a banknote that could not buy bread. And while ordinary Zimbabweans were pushing wheelbarrows of cash to market, the Marange diamond fields were discovered. In 2006, ordinary Zimbabweans found alluvial diamonds in the Marange region of eastern Zimbabwe. Thousands of informal miners flooded the fields. Then in 2008, Mugabe's government sent the military. Operation No Return. Soldiers shot informal miners, killed an estimated 200 people or more, sealed the fields, and handed extraction rights to companies connected to the military and to ZANU-PF political figures. Chinese companies, Onjin Investments, arrived with military partnerships and began extracting at industrial scale. Mugabe announced the Marange fields would generate $15 billion for the Zimbabwean treasury. The African Development Bank and international diamond monitors found that only a fraction of that figure ever reached public accounts. Billions of dollars in diamonds. Missing. No public audit has ever fully accounted for where the Marange revenue went. Grace Mugabe spent it. That is what ordinary Zimbabweans called it. The First Lady, nicknamed Gucci Grace, made international shopping trips that cost more than most Zimbabweans would earn in multiple lifetimes. Luxury goods in Paris, designer fashion in Dubai, properties abroad, all while Zimbabwean hospitals ran out of surgical gloves. All while teachers abandoned classrooms because their monthly salary could not buy a week of food. All while children collected water from communal boreholes because the infrastructure had collapsed. In November 2017, the military finally moved. Not to restore democracy, to remove Mugabe before his wife Grace could succeed him. Emmerson Mnangagwa, Mugabe's former vice president and enforcer, was installed as president. Zimbabweans celebrated in the streets. They were celebrating the removal of a tyrant. What they got was the same system with a different name at the top. Mnangagwa's government has promised diamond revenue transparency since 2018. The Marange fields are still operating. The communities beside them are still among the poorest in Zimbabwe. The full accounting of where billions in diamond revenue went has never been published. The Odd Archive is the #1 factual history page documenting this pattern right now. We have already named the names others were afraid to say. Robert Mugabe, Grace Mugabe, Emmerson Mnangagwa, Cecil Rhodes, the 5th Brigade, Operation No Return, Onjin Investments. And we are not done. We have already exposed Nigeria, Gaddafi, Jamaica, India, Guyana, Canada, Iran, the Philippines, Venezuela, Guatemala, Trinidad, Ghana, Cuba, South Africa, Indonesia, and Australia. Every single story follows the same architecture. Find a resource, control who benefits, extract the wealth, suppress the evidence, change the face at the top when the pressure gets too high, keep the system running underneath. Zimbabwe is what happens when a liberation movement becomes the thing it was fighting against. Drop a comment below right now. Tell me where you are watching from. Do you want us to keep calling out the politicians, military officials, and corporations behind these operations by name in every future video? Comment yes below. We choose our next country from your comments. Drop the name of the nation whose buried history you want us to expose next. Share this video right now. Someone in your life thinks Zimbabwe collapsed because Africans cannot manage resources. Show them Cecil Rhodes arriving in 1890. Show them the Lancaster House Agreement that locked land injustice in place. Show them Operation No Return. Show them the Marange diamonds that were supposed to rebuild a nation. One share puts this in front of thousands of people who were never shown the full picture. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, search official The Odd Archive, and turn on notifications. Follow this page. Share. Comment your country. Because the next story we are dropping, the cover-up is so recent the documents were only declassified in the last 5 years. And what they show will change how you see everything.